I now call this meeting of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association Student Senate to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I want to begin our Student Senate meeting taking place on Thursday, April 28th, 2022 with a land acknowledgement. We recognize that Kansas State University, as the first land-grant institution, stands on the ancestral lands of the Kaw people. Our state of Kansas is home to 4 federally recognized Native nations: the Iowa, Kickapoo, Prairie Band Potawatomi, and Sac and Fox. We must remember that the land serving as the foundation for this institution was, and still is, stolen land acquired by white settlers. We pledge our commitment to creating decolonized spaces at the university while advocating for the support and future success of Indigenous faculty, staff, and students at K-State. And with that, Pro Tempore Pineda-Gomez will take it away with our first roll call.
Thanks so much, Evan. Anderson. Here. Barron. Here. Bellamy. Broughton. Brown.
Here.
Carey. Compton.
Here.
Coy. Here. Davidson.
Here.
Dole.
Here.
Grills. Grolmes. Heatherman. Hoffman. Johnson.
Here.
Callery Kill.
Here.
Kemen.
Here.
Kidd. Kermer.
Here.
Lister.
She's here.
Long.
Here.
Lin.
Here.
McFarland.
Here.
Middaugh.
Here.
Navarro. O'Donohue.
Here.
Oury.
Here.
Pelton.
Here.
Phillips.
Here.
Pilchard.
Here.
Pondillo.
Here.
Rogers.
Here.
Saya.
Here.
Solomon. Shear. Alexa. Schindler.
Here.
Schweiler. Schweier.
Here.
Stout.
Here.
Strout.
Here.
Talbert.
Here.
Thomas.
Here.
Volgamore.
Here.
And Wolf.
Here.
Thank you.
Awesome, thanks Juan. And our proxies for tonight are Phillips for Murphy, Stout for Roth, Corey for Bannister, Grills for DePaz, Shear Alexa for Shear Carson, and McPhee for Salmon. And with that, we have University President Dr. Richard Linton here for our first open period.
Really great to be here. Thank you for the invitation to come speak today. I thought I would maybe just give you guys a little bit of a background of who I am and why I chose to come to Kansas State University, then talk a little bit about what's happening at Kansas State right now relative to the budget and other really positive things that are going on, and then talk about some of the things that are around the corner for the next academic year. So if I can go to the next slide, please. So I'm often asked, why Kansas State? And I guess I'll equate it to, buying a new pair of boots. Because I just bought my first pair of boots so that I can travel to the West a few weeks ago. And I went to Wamego. And I went to Vanderbilt's because that's the place you buy boots. And I probably tried on 40 pairs of boots. But if you've bought boots before, you know that when you slide your foot in and it's right, it's right. And that's kind of, for me, what Kansas State was when I was looking at this position and interviewing for this job. Sometimes you know that it's just a perfect fit, I think, for you personally and professionally. And I think, too, a good fit for what Kansas State needs right now in moving forward. And so some of the things that were important to me, this is a land grant. It's a foundational land grant that still believes in the mission of research, teaching, extension for the benefit of the citizens of the state. And while so many other land grant institutions are moving in a different direction, and I struggle with that. And so as I was looking for the next step, I really wanted to come to a university like a Kansas State or an Iowa State or a Purdue that really is foundationally a land-grant university and believes in it every single day. But I also think this is a place that has unbelievable opportunities. You know, with BRI and NBAF and all of the great things that are happening here, I think we have the opportunity to be the next generation land grant. And we're going to let ourselves define what the next generation means. How is the student going to be different after COVID? Should we just be thinking about students that are 18 to 24 or 18 to 85? What about private-public partnerships? What about collaboration with industry so that we can help grow the economy and create jobs in the state? These are the kinds of questions that we'd like to ask each other as we go through defining what we call the next generation land grant. And the people. I will tell you, if you're from here, you take it for granted. But there's not a better place in the country, not a better land grant in the country relative to the authenticity, the genuine nature, and the goodness of people here at Kansas State. And the experience that students have is amazing. I've not been at any other place that has student government as strong as it is here, and a student senate that takes it so personally in order to be able to help move this university forward. Next slide. So here's my journey, 37 years in land-grant universities. You'll see at the bottom on the left, I'm a Hokie, and quite often they say that Kansas State is Virginia Tech of the West. I spent 9 years getting all of my degrees at Virginia Tech. I'm a food microbiologist by training, so I worked on detecting and controlling and destroying and killing microorganisms like Salmonella, E. coli, and Listeria in graduate school and then thereafter. Then went to Purdue University where I was a faculty member for 16 years, went through the ranks of assistant, associate, full professor, led a center while I was there, and also had the chance to work on a major federal project which involved 5 different colleges at Purdue University. And at that point in time, I actually worked with Pat Roberts, of course, who was a longtime senator in this state. And it's Pat Roberts was the one that actually reached out to me to see if I would be interested in this position. Then after Purdue, I went to the Ohio State, and you have to say the. You have to say the Ohio State University. I was a department head there for 2 years in the Food Science and Technology Department. It's the largest such program in the country, and then went to the 3rd largest College of Agriculture and Life Sciences at NC State University, and I was there for almost a decade before coming to Kansas State. Next slide, please. So, from a 50,000-foot viewpoint, these are some of the things that I'm seeing as, kind of the challenges and opportunities. Many of these things affect you directly. Some of these things affect you indirectly. I think all of us know that we're challenged with student enrollment decline over the last 8 years. We're some 4,200 students less today than we were 8 years ago. And I know that student government, this is going to be their major push and their major initiative to try to reverse this trend. And that is my number one goal that I'm going after. How do we reverse the trend so that we can kind of turn the corner? Why is that important? That's $42 million recurring right now that we don't have. It's a self-imposed tax that we don't have to support our students, our faculty, and our staff. And that's the best way to be able to regain that opportunity to invest in our future and regain our reputation. Student affordability, student success is really important. It's not just finding ways to recruit students to build our freshman class, but it's providing student services to ensure that they're going to be successful and graduate in a timely fashion to be able to keep student costs down. We're also working on some major initiatives relative to student scholarships to be able to lessen student costs. Money coming from the state, money coming from the federal government. If you look at the trend over the last 30 years, it's in a pretty steep downward direction. That's what we expect for the next 10 years. So we got to think about alternative ways of resourcing, and we also have to build really great relationships at the state with state legislators as well as with federal legislators, and that's really my job as president to try to lead, and we're working very hard on those relationships. Faculty and staff compensation, you may not think that that impacts you, but it really does, because in order for us to recruit the best and to keep the best teachers and researchers and folks that work in extension, we've got to be more competitive. We're about 18% below the standard relative to being competitive. And we're real fortunate. Our turnover rate in faculty is only about 4% a year, which was 12% when I was at NC State. We're very fortunate. People love it here. But at some point in time, we've got to make sure that we're competitive. And you're going to see there's some really positive news to share about next year relative to that. We also have infrastructure needs. I know that there are some incredible buildings like this building, but then there's also other buildings and classrooms that are below standard. And we have some $440 million in infrastructure costs that we're working through trying to strategize over the next decade. And you all know the challenge of COVID and how difficult it's been to kind of connect with everybody. I think we have that challenge throughout the state, and we'll be working very hard at trying to re-engage, all the way from Kansas City to Dodge City. Next slide, please. Here's some really great news. We have probably the best state budget we've had in 10, if not 20 years, as far as I've learned, but in talking with the other presidents and people that have been here a long time. There's a tremendous investment that was made through the original governor's budget and then supported mostly by the Senate and House and then negotiated by the Senate and the House. There's support for faculty and staff raises. There's a 5% merit pool that's being supported. That means about a 2% merit raise pool for faculty and staff. We're going to try to do more to be able to add to that, to be able to make it much more competitive and much more significant. There's also significant funding for repair and renovation of facilities, as well as destruction and tear down of those facilities that need to be destroyed and removed. There's $35 million for facilities. That's a 1-to-1 match, so it's really $70 million that will be invested across the system. And we would guess that about 30% of that it should come to Kansas State. There's also $10 million for tearing down of facilities, and we would expect that Kansas State might likely get somewhere around $3 to $4 million to be able to do that. IT modernization. There's $20 million in the budget that supports IT modernization across the system. We're expecting to invest somewhere between $6 and $7 million on IT modernization, which is really well needed in multiple areas here at Kansas State. And then there's funding as well. There's $19 million for student need-based aid, and that is also a 1-to-1 match. So this is almost unheard of, getting support for all of these important infrastructure needs and compensation needs. So if you run into a senator, you run into a House member, you run into the governor, please go up to them and thank them for their support of higher education. There was a great movement forward this year. From Kansas State's perspective, there are, I guess, 3 major investments that we are making this spring until the end of next year. Student recruitment and enrollment programming. Some of the funds that are coming back from the governor's budget this year will be used very strategically to be able to try to reverse the trend relative to student enrollment. I'm going to challenge students to be a part of the effort to help us, to be able to help reach out, to be able to help recruit. We also have funding to be able to support more effective messaging, branding, and best practices that can be utilized to be able to help reverse this trend. We'll also be doing community outreach efforts all throughout the state with me, my team, provost team, extension, students, and involving the media as we kind of reach out to do 2 things: build better engagement and help to be able to articulate the value of higher education in hopes of enhancing student enrollments. The second thing, we have a strategic plan, as many of you know, that's called K-State 2025. We are in the process of revitalizing and moving forward to the next strategic plan. The current strategic plan is a 15-year plan, which is too long of a plan for higher education, especially when you have major changes like COVID and major opportunities like economic development and in business development through the new strategic plan of the Kansas Board of Regents. And so we will be initiating a new strategic planning effort, which we're trying to envision ourselves as being the next generation land grant. And that process will start in July and should conclude somewhere around April so that we can implement in the next academic year. after that. Students will be heavily engaged and involved because you are the university. This is why we exist, and we want to make the university the best that we can for you as we understand what the next generation land grant is. We also have 3 cabinet level positions that we're filling, a couple due to retirements and 1 new position that was created. So the ones due to the retirement is the Vice President of Communications and Marketing, and also another Vice President position, which is a CFO, COO combined position. And then the new position is a Vice President for Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging, which I'm just taking action on a recommendation that was made actually several years ago. We're taking that forward and making a Vice President level for diversity that is equivalent to all other members in my cabinet. It's absolutely the right thing to do, and it's been a long time coming. For all these positions, the search committees have been formed. There was an announcement that was made out of my office a couple weeks ago. They will start the recruitment process in the summer, but for most of these positions, we will be waiting, especially the diversity position, we will be waiting for the fall so that students have an opportunity to be engaged in those interview processes. Next slide, please. So that's all I had. I just wanted to give you guys a brief introduction of who I am, why I've come here, and some of the things that we're seeing relative to opportunities and challenges, and some of the immediate moves that we're making as an institution. So with that, I think I've got 10 or so minutes for questions or comments if you guys have either.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Are there any questions for President Linton, Intern Coordinator Lin?
Hi.
I was wondering, like, across all your experience at different universities, are there any particular challenges that you've seen in several different places? And if so, what's kind of your strategy to help K-State in terms of like this, what might be like a broader issue across universities?
Yeah, part of the value of being engaged and involved, especially as administrator in multiple land grants, is many of the challenge and the issues are exactly the same. And so I've seen ways in which they've been approached at other institutions. And of course, you try to utilize those best practices now in that same way. But the culture's different here. And so it isn't always what worked at NC State and what worked at The Ohio State and what worked at Purdue will work here. But being through the process multiple times makes it a whole lot easier and a whole lot faster. But I don't just look at experiences that I've had or other team members on my team have had at different land grant institutions. I reach out to presidents, chancellors, and provosts around the country. I've got 9 chancellors and presidents that I talk to pretty frequently and try to understand this is what we're trying to do. What have you done? What has worked? What hasn't worked? As an example, I was talking to Gordon Gee today. He's the president of West Virginia. He's been a university president for the last 42 years at 5 different universities and 2 universities twice. And anyway, we're trying to figure out how the president can make the biggest difference relative to student enrollment. And we've got this idea about doing community engagement around the state with the thinking, you go to a different region of the state, get the president, get the provost, someone from the provost team or student life. You've got the extension director, a couple of students that are from that region. And the idea is that you have a community visit, maybe a business visit, maybe a community college visit, and a high school or 2. And I was asking him, is this thinking, based on what I've heard from other people, has this worked in the 42 years that you've been doing this? And the comment that he made back just validated our thinking. He said the 2 most important things at the university relative to making change around students are students themselves and the president second. So when we go out on these community visits, students will listen to students. Students aren't going to listen to a president. They're going to listen to students. What the president can do is raise the visibility. The media covers it, and all of a sudden, ooh, Kansas State is really taking this seriously. Great question.
Are there any further questions? Director Binkley?
This is sort of off topic. Thank you, though, for coming.
You're welcome.
As an SGA introduction, what is your favorite smell?
My favorite smell by far is pizza. I used to work at a pizza place on the boardwalk in Ocean City, New Jersey. It would not be uncommon for me to make more than 1,000 pizzas in a day. I can still make a pizza in 22 seconds from start to finish. Throw it in the oven. It's not done till you cook it. But we used to work. Have you ever seen the movie Cocktail? You probably. You have. Well, have you ever heard of a guy by the name of Tom Cruise? Okay. Oh, yeah. So Tom Cruise was in a movie called Cocktail, and it was entertaining about how he made drinks. Well, the place that I worked at was entertaining. It was on the boardwalk. People could see you walking on the boardwalk, and you would throw pizzas back and forth. And anyway, that's my favorite smell. And I just got one of those new Ono ovens. You know those Ono outdoor ovens? Gets to 900 degrees in 15 minutes. So there's going to be pizza at the Pres Res.
Are there any further questions? Senator Pilchard?
Straightforward. What would you make a priority within the first 100 days of being president? Again, specific policy that you touched on in your presentation.
So in the first, reading, my favorite read is the first 90 days. It's a CD. Well, it shows you my age, but when I was a dean, I had it in the CD playing in my car over and over and over, and actually reread the book before coming here. What you do in the first 90 days is absolutely critical. For me, it's engagement, relationship building, and building trust. Whether it's students at basketball games, whether it's coming to meetings like this, whether it's going to visit businesses, whether it's meeting legislators federally or at the state level, faculty, students, staff, administrators, everything in the first 90 days for me is building a relationship and building trust. The only major policy change I made, it's not really a policy change, but it was a long overdue decision, was the Vice President for Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging. That was a decision that had to be made and had to be done. And I think I needed to make a strong statement about who we are at Kansas State relative to building community. Yeah. And the strategic plan was another one. When you listen and build relationships and you hear over and over and over again, it's ready to move forward to the next step. You make the decision and you move forward.
Are there any
Good
further
question.
questions for President Linton? Chief of Staff Richenberg?
This one's a little off topic, but I think you can tell a person by like whatever they answer this question with. So, where has been your favorite place to eat in Manhattan?
My favorite place to eat in Manhattan is Bourbon and Baker's. Was there a bet or something? However, I will also tell you I had the opportunity to go to the Speakeasy last week. And that's where, so my wife is in, my wife, Sally, is in Raleigh until August. And I'm trying to take her to a nice place tonight. We're going to go down to the Speakeasy. Yeah, I got the password and everything. Yeah, are those good places to go? Are there other good places I should? Speakeasy's awesome.
Mr. K's is a personal fave of mine.
Mr. K's.
Long's way.
All right, what's it called? Tacaluchos? Is that it? Is that in Aggieville or where's that at? Okay. So I got to take. Can I add on to that little snap thing? So I went to I've been to a couple of fraternities over the last several weeks, and it was the one fraternity I went to most recently. The average GPA was a 3.46. Amazing, and about a third of the fraternity had a perfect 4.0. It was amazing. Not like what a fraternity was when I was in a fraternity back in 1985, which is when I was starting in my fraternity. I'm a Sigma Chi. And anyway, they snapped their fingers, which we clapped. We didn't snap fingers, and they were snapping their fingers if it was above a 3.46. I finished the leadership presentation, and then one of the guys said, would we be snapping our fingers for you? I said, you wouldn't have snapped fingers for me for 4 years in college. It's a different world.
Awesome. Are there any further questions? Chair Long?
You discussed money coming in for infrastructure changes. Are there any priorities on campus for that money to be directed towards?
There are, and I probably painted a rosier picture than I should have. Even though we've got all this great news coming from the governor's budget, we still have some major challenges, and we'll have operational cuts as a university because we're struggling on the downside from student enrollment. But for that $35 million for the system, which is a 1-to-1 match, which is $70 million, we will likely have an opportunity to get about 30% of that. So let's say 20 to 25 million is what we're trying to compete for. Right now, we've had multiple conversations with all the deans and unit leaders about what those priorities are going to be. We're going to have a process and an RFP that we solicit all the different units on campus here, Salina and Olathe, and try to make the very, very best decisions we possibly can for the priorities this year, and already start working towards next year in hopes that we have the same kind of an opportunity. The Kansas Board of Regents is working on a 10-year aspirational hope that we'll be able to have a 1-to-1 match for the next 10 years, which would get us out of much of our $440 million challenge that we have. I can tell you the number one priority for a destruction and teardown is Edwards. And the natatorium is also a high priority for teardown if we can get it done within the time period that's needed to get it done. But a really detailed process with a lot of thought for now, but not only for now, but for the future. Good question.
Are there any further questions? Senator Kidd?
Sure. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you again too. My question's in reference to different structures on our campus. So some structures at K-State are very centralized, some structures are very decentralized. So with you being here for a few months, what has been your impression over some of those systems, and what comes to mind as something immediate that should be changed from a decentralized to centralized nature or vice versa?
We have some work in multiple areas where I think we can be more efficient. So in strategic planning, there's actually a 4-phase process that we're looking at, and that communication will come out probably next Thursday or Friday about how we're actually strategizing around the strategic planning process. The 4 components are the programmatic piece, which is what everybody does. But then there's a structure function piece, which will be asking those questions. How can we be as efficient as we possibly can be, cost effective, but deliver the best services? And then the third piece to that is investments. I'd like to have a playbook at the end of strategic planning where I know where we're going to make the big investments. It's an easy decision. We're going to make those decisions during strategic planning. Alongside of it, the train right behind is branding and marketing. So I've asked like 125 people on this campus what the brand is. 3 people have gotten the correct answer, which means we've got some work to do relative to a consistent brand that everybody knows what it is: faculty, students, staff, alumni, athletics. I left NC State an unbelievable chancellor, one of the best in the country, a chancellor and a president, same thing, right? And I asked him, he quadrupled fundraising, raised $2 billion for the university in a capital campaign, 2.5 times research, built all these buildings. He's just an amazingly accomplished and successful person. And I asked him, I said, Randy, what's the most important thing you did? He said, we developed a brand. Because from that brand, and that brand is think and do, lots of really good things can happen if everybody understands what that brand is and what that brand means. So I think there's conversations we've already had about areas like business services, IT, HR services would just be 3 examples of things that I'd certainly like to have a conversation. Communications would be another, where we've got kind of siloed pockets that don't work together perfectly. And so let's either find a way for them to work together more effectively, or let's talk about other ways of doing it. Yeah, I think that's where me being at other land-grant universities that have gone through that challenge, like Purdue went through that challenge 20 years ago, NC State went through that challenge 8 years ago. I saw the iterations that needed to be put in place in order to be able to try to do some of those things and get support from campus to do it.
So it is almost 7:30, so do you want to take one more, or do you need to head
There
out?
was one, I think, was there one?
Okay,
I'd take
yeah.
one more, and then I got a date with my wife.
Senator Stout, go ahead.
What's your vision for your tenure when it comes to collaborating with SGA and other students?
I think you could ask SGA if I'm engaged or I'm involved, and Parker and Jeff and and the chief of staff, I would hope would say, I'm all in even to the point where we now meet at the president's residence because it's a much more comfortable space to meet. We're private, but again, students are the reason we're here. Build a great relationship with them and think about what we can accomplish. We're already working on a big project. They don't know what it is, but it's coming. They want to make a difference, and I'm going to help them work with students to make a difference. Great question.
Awesome. I think that was a fantastic note to end on. So if we want to give the president a round of applause and thank him for coming. Okay, awesome. And with that, we will go ahead and move into approval of the minutes. The minutes were distributed on Tuesday along with the agenda and legislation tracking information. Are there any corrections for the minutes? Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Caucus Leader Compton. It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Are there any objections? All right, seeing none, the minutes stand approved. And with that, we will move into announcements. So as you can see, that first announcement up at the top there, I'm going to order us some like vinyl stickers of the SGA logo. You've seen the lapel pins. It's just that round SGA logo with the picture of Anderson on it. Looking like it's going to be about $1 for a 3-inch diameter vinyl sticker. So if you're interested in that, I will have more information about that in the fall, but just wanted to put that bug in your ear. And also, if you want a lapel pin, I have them in my box. So hit me up, Venmo me $3 cash. You can get yourself a lapel pin. Additionally, this one was not on the agenda because we just found out about it later in the week, but Chair Long submitted with President Volgamore, submitted a request for a judicial interpretation for the Kansas State University Student Governing Association statutes, and per the judicial bylaws, the Attorney General is supposed to issue a formal announcement of that to Student Senate, but Attorney General Hobbs couldn't be here tonight, so she asked me to do it. That clause reads, within the next 4 business days, the Student Tribunal will go into formal session to interpret statutes 200103B and 200103C. Any interested party shall have 4 days to submit an amicus brief to Attorney General Hobbs to be shared during the interpretation hearing. So if you want to know a little bit more information about like what an amicus brief would look like or need any advice on that, you can reach out to any of us and we can get that worked out for Attorney General Hobbs before that Student Tribunal hearing. Anyway, that being said, those are the rest of the announcements. Information about proxies. If you'll be absent from Student Senate, you can fill out the proxy form. If you'll be physically absent but would still like to attend via Zoom, you can fill out the Zoom request form. And if you want to give props to someone in Student Senate, you can submit those shout outs, and Speaker Pro Tempore Pineda Gomez, not Saya, thought I'd caught that on the template, we'll read those at the end of our meeting. And this week, the SGA Member of the Week is Taylor Witt. Taylor put a lot of work in this week promoting sexual assault prevention and awareness through tabling and collaboration with other cabinet members. Thank you for your hard work and advocacy of students, Taylor. And as you can see on the events calendar there, we have no meetings because it is dead week this week, and we will also have no meetings the week following due to finals week. So this is our last Student Senate session of the semester. We'll come back in the fall and the first full week of classes, so that'll be the second week that we're back on campus. And the quote of the week is, "You may be disappointed if you fail, but you are doomed if you don't try," by Beverly Sills. Yeah, Senator Grills.
Just a quick point of information. What were those statutes? Is there a way you can give like a 2-sentence summary of what the statutes that are being written are?
Yeah, Jacob, you want to hit on that? Yeah, so basically, if an organization is a student or a sports club or an academic competition team, they have that separate line item on the student services fee. And if they the way that we've done it in the past is that if they are an ACT or a sports club, they can't receive normal campus organization student allocation money. We are just wanting to get clarification on that because the governing document is a little, it's open to interpretation. So we are looking for that interpretation. You're welcome. And with that, we will go ahead and move into our commendations for the night. So is there a motion to consider Resolution 15? Senator Hoffman. All right, it's been moved and seconded to consider Resolution 15. If the author will please come forward.
Yo, what's good? Yes, this is the commendation to the Classy Cats. Authors are me, Andrew Navarro, and Marta Rickenberg. Sponsors are Jacob Brown, Tommy Compton, Jeff Ebeck, Ashley Grills, Rachel Gromes, Jacob Hoffman, Jyothi I apologize. 1 second. Okay, sorry. Jyothi Kalarikio, Madeira Lister, Peyton Lin, Aaron Middahl, Clay Pelton, Juan Pineda Gomez, Joseph Pandillo, Evan Porter, Tatiana Rogers, Ben Roth, Alexa Shear, Bentley Talbert, Kate Thomas, and Parker Vogelmore. Whereas, the Kansas State University Student Governing Association strives to commend the exemplary work of fellow university students, whereas the Classy Cats are Kansas State University's collegiate dance team, whereas the Classy Cats practice 4 days a week, 3 hours a day, at the Chester E. Peters Recreational Complex, whereas the Classy Cats traveled to Florida to compete in the College Classic National Invitation, whereas the Classy Cats competed against 6 other teams in the Palm Division, whereas the Classy Cats won the D1A Palm National Championship on April 10th, 2022, and whereas KSU SGA should acknowledge and celebrate the Classy Cats' hard work and dedication to collegiate dance and their accomplishment in representing Kansas State University at the national level. Be it resolved that, Section 1, the Kansas State University Student Governing Association commends the Classy Cats for their exceptional performance in national title win. Section 2, Student Senate must do jazz hands while saying "Go Cats" to show outward congratulations to the Classy Cats. Section 3, upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the student body president, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to Classy Cats team captain, Emmy Bidnick, the Classy Cats coach, Sarah Heptig, Vice President of Student Life, Dr. Thomas Lane, Athletic Director, Gene Taylor, choreographers at Tribal 99, and Kansas State University President, Dr. Richard Linton.
Awesome. Are there any questions or corrections for the author? Senator Kidd.
I'm so sorry. So have we established consistency with using President Dr. Rich Linton versus President Dr. Richard H. Linton? I could have sworn there was legislation that had.
Yeah, we've used the H in the past, so I will go ahead and add it. Caucus Leader Compton.
Small thing, and I could be wrong. On line 18, should it be the College Classic National Invitational instead of just invitation, or is it just invitation?
I'll Google it. I will Google it later. Are there any further questions? All right.
It is invitational.
Thank you, Senate Operations Member Bellamy. Are there any further questions for the author? All right, seeing none, you can take your seat. And is there a motion to approve Resolution 15? Chair Phillips.
I move to approve Resolution 15 unanimously.
Are there any objections? Seeing none, Resolution 15 will stand approved.
We can do better. Ready? On 3. 1, 2, 3. Go Cats!
Awesome. And with that, we will go ahead and move into approval of appointments. So is there a motion to consider Resolution 16? Chair Phillips.
Consider Resolution 16.
It's been moved and seconded to consider Resolution 16. If the author will please come forward.
Okie schmoky. Resolution 22-23-16, approval of new student senators. Authors Bentley J. Talbert, sponsors Senate Operations Committee. Whereas there are currently 2 vacancies for the position of student senator for the College of Arts and Sciences, and whereas Samuel Schweier and Jeremy Kamen have the next highest vote total of eligible and willing candidates in the 2022 SGA general election in the College of Arts and Sciences. Be it resolved that Section 1, the following individuals be approved as student senators for the College of Arts and Sciences: Jeremy Kamen and Samuel Schweier.
Are there any thanks, Bentley. Are there any questions or corrections for the author? All right, seeing none, is there you can take your seat, and is there a motion to approve Resolution 16? Senator Rogers. Can we do it unanimously? Awesome. Is there a second? All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 16 unanimously. Are there any objections? All right, seeing none, Resolution 16 will stand approved. Do we clap, Blake? You look like you're clapping. Okay, awesome. I will get you sworn in after we do this next one. So with that, is there a motion to consider Resolution 17? Was that a second? All right, it's been moved and seconded to consider Resolution 17. If the author will please come forward. Surprise, it's me. It's coming from my email. Ooh. All right, this is Resolution 22-2317, approval of Student Governing Association Intern Coordinator. Authors myself, sponsors Kathleen Cowell, myself, and Parker Vogelmore. Whereas it is necessary to appoint and approve the intern coordinator of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association, whereas this position was sufficiently advertised, and whereas this individual was chosen on the basis of their leadership, ability, experience, and dedication to serving the Kansas State University student body throughout the next term, be it resolved that Section 1, the following individual will be approved as an intern coordinator for the 2022-2023 Kansas State University Student Governing Association term, Peyton Lin.
Are there any questions or corrections for the author? Oh, Senator Kidd.
Okay, so I've always been confused. So what does this mean? Does that mean that Senator Lin is still a senator, or does that mean that she has relinquished her senator seat to be intern coordinator?
She has renounced her Senate seat to become the intern coordinator.
Yeah, as soon as we pass this and swear Peyton in, she will no longer be a senator. She will just be an intern coordinator. But she will maintain her speaking rights because she will become a Senate Executive Committee member. Go ahead.
Brandon?
So, sorry. So in years that we do have someone that is a senator that has to step down from being a senator to be an intern coordinator, why don't we ever include that in that in the legislation? Is that not important to know that? Or
That's a really good question, Marcus. As far as I know, it is it's stated in the governing documents that as soon as they are sworn in, and that was a change Blake made, that their Senate seat is automatically declared vacant. So we can make it standard practice start including that clause. But since it is stated in the governing documents, I don't see a ton of reason.
thank you.
Parker?
President Vogelmore?
Yeah, maybe I missed this, hopefully not, but could you explain why there's only one intern coordinator? And again, if anybody's interested or whatever.
Yeah, so the intern coordinator position was advertised on the Senate Executive Committee application. So if any of you saw that or filled it out, you know that it was on there. Unfortunately, we just didn't have a ton of interest in the position of intern coordinator. So that's why it still says it was sufficiently advertised, because it was definitely sufficiently advertised. I've been talking to people for 3 weeks now, trying to drum up some interest, but we just haven't had any. So Peyton is going to start working by herself over the summer. We just wanted to have at least one individual in the position before we went away for summer so that we can hit the ground running with the intern program as soon as we get back in the fall. So if you are interested or in the intern program, or you know anyone that might be interested in being an intern coordinator, don't hesitate to reach out to myself, Parker, Kathleen, and now Peyton, anyone that has past SGA experience. We can all provide some insight into what it is to be the intern coordinator.
Senator Kidd?
So sorry. So now that brings me to another question. So why isn't that in the legislation stating hey, Payne's cool and all, we have her. However, there's still an opening for another position. Why is that not in the legislation? Is that?
It's just an approval of an appointment. It's not.
Sorry.
I don't want to sound flippant, but it's not that deep. We will get them in the fall. This is just like swearing in an individual to a position. I know there's a broader context to it, but we typically don't include that kind of language in our approval of appointments legislation. So I didn't see a ton of value in having that written down.
Senator Schindler.
So there could be more than one intern coordinator by the time like fall comes.
We could have another individual ready to be sworn in. We would have to have that individual approved by Senate and sworn in. But Peyton is going to work on her own to begin with the support of myself and a lot of other people.
President Vogelmore.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, and for clarification, major props for Peyton for stepping up and willing to step in by herself and get started. But it's absolutely still open. I'm sure she would love the help and support of an additional coordinator, as it's traditionally been a two-person position. So yes, it's still very much open, and we will hopefully have somebody who helps support her in that role by next fall.
Are there any further questions or corrections for the author? Is there a motion? Senator Kidd.
I move we approve this resolution unanimously.
Second.
Seeing, you want to take it away?
Yeah. Was it moved and was it seconded? Are there any objections? All right, seeing none, Resolution 17 will stand approved. Yeah, Peyton, you want to come on down? I will get them after. We have to swear them in separately since it's different positions.
Oh, well, I could go sit back down and they can
It's
come
fine.
with you. Okay.
If you will raise your right hand and say "I will" at the end. At this time, I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of Intern Coordinator and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association. Awesome. Peyton, I know a lot of people in the room know you, but you want to give us the intro?
I will give us the intro. My name is Peyton Lin. I'm from the, oh my God. Okay, name, major. I'm a secondary education major with a focus in speech and theater. My pronouns are she, her, and my hometown is Tonganoxie, Kansas. And my favorite smell today is a new perfume I got. It's from Target. It's called Vanilla Bourbon. Very good.
Jeremy and Samuel, you want to come on down? You want to raise your right hand and say "I will" at the end? Oh, and Brandon. Can't forget about Brandon. Okay, raise your right hand and say "I will" at the end. I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of Student Senator and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association. Awesome. So you might have picked it up from Peyton, but the normal SGA introduction is your name, pronouns, major, hometown, and favorite smell. So those 5 things.
My name's Samuel Schweier, and I'll just get it out of the way now. So the pronunciation of Schweier, it's like you're shushing wire. That's the best way I found to explain it. So just go Schweier. So my major, I'm a poli-sci major with a secondary major in international studies. Hometown, Army brat. So originally New Mexico, Farmington. But most recent was Leavenworth, Kansas, and fell in love with Kansas. That's why I'm still here. Pronouns, he, him. Favorite smell? Probably like the smell right after it's rained. Just can't beat it. Thank you. Cool.
My name is Jeremy Kamen. My pronouns are he, him. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. My major is physics, but I have a minor in classical studies, and I'm picking up a minor in geophysics. My favorite smell is probably the smell of the wind off Lake Michigan when you're standing in Millennium Park.
My name is Brandon Kermer. Pronouns are he, him. I am from Overland Park, Kansas. Major is architecture with a minor in leadership studies. And favorite smell, it's more of a fall smell. It's like that apple spice candle.
Thank you.
Okay, awesome. And with that, we will go ahead and head into committee reports. Are there any committee chairs that would like to give a report tonight? Chair Thomas.
Hey guys, this isn't going to be super long, but the UF application is now open. So if you work with any departments that can apply for UF funding or have in the past, let them know that the application's now open. Thanks, guys.
Sorry about that. Are there any further committee chairs who would like to give a report tonight? Chair Phillips.
Alrighty, folks, how's it going? So I want to apologize in advance for the amount that you are going to hear from me in Senate tonight. It is going to be a lot, and I did not mean for that to happen, but this has been a wild week. So anyway, my name is Blake Phillips, if I haven't gotten the chance to meet you yet. I currently serve as the Student Services Fee Committee Chair, and as you all saw yesterday with an updated agenda, there's been some things going on this past week regarding the student services fee, and I am here today to help explain some of that, not only the student services fee in general, because it's a big thing that we control as Student Senate and something that you will see a lot of this year, and we haven't had the best chance to have a full introduction with that before we make some big decisions. So I want to take some time to explain just the general, what the student services fee is, and also what just got added to our agenda tonight and what we are asking you to vote on. So Bryce, if you'll hit the next slide. First of all, what is the student services fee? I apologize also in advance for all of the formatting changes that you're going to see. I have a lot of different PowerPoints that I'm reusing some slides from because I didn't have a ton of time to make this presentation. But the student services fee is formerly known as the campus privilege fee. If you ever hear anyone use the term priv fee, they're talking about the exact same thing. This name change happened last year, so it's relatively new, but this is an additional fee that you pay in addition to your tuition. This is $465.48 per semester if you're a full-time student, and so you likely see that on your bill when you pay to K-State. When you add up the amount of money that we collect from every single student on campus, that equals about $14.4 million that SGA is in charge of allocating, which is super cool. Really huge amount of money that we have to be able to support student services on campus. We're the second in the Big 12 in terms of our size of the student services fee budget, which is super cool. And we have a really great opportunity to be able to allocate that. This is approved by the Student Services Fee Committee, which I'm the chair of, and is approved also by the president, President Linton, who is just with us, and the Kansas Board of Regents. Last thing about this fee, this is a floating fee, meaning that enrollment plays a huge factor in the revenue generated by this fee. And you're going to be seeing a lot more about that later today. Bryce, if you'll hit the next slide. Oh, there we go. So these are some of the entities that we fund with that $14.4 million fund. There are three really big ones, and that is the Lafine Health Center. How many of you have heard of Lafine? I hope it's more. Nice. So yeah, Lafine is funded by the fee, the union that we're in today, the rec complex, as well as all of these other entities listed on the right. Those three, Lafine, the rec, and the union, we call the big three because they make up about 62% of our student services fee. When we include bonds, which I'll talk about on the next slide, it's about 86% of our fee. So almost like a very large amount of the money that you pay for that fee goes to supporting those entities. The rest goes to supporting the other entities as well on the right side. Next slide. So explaining those bonds a little bit. A few years ago, and by a few, I mean within the past 10 years, we have had two different bonds issued. What that means is the student body voted to fund the renovation or addition to different buildings on campus. And those two buildings are the Union and the Rec. The Wildcat Chamber that we are currently in was part of the Union expansion, and that was funded by students, and we pay for that every single year. Additionally, the Rec also had an expansion, and we also pay for that on the student services fee. When you add up those two line items, that's about $3.5 million that we owe every single year that we do not have the ability to change. We're in contractual agreements based on loans that we took out, and so we have to make those payments every single year. All the other entities that you saw on the last slide, that is our job as the Student Services Fee Committee, is to review those entities and determine how much funding we are going to give them for a certain amount of years. These ones we cannot change. So, one important note about our bonds. We are required to overcharge all of our students for our bonds. The reason that this is, if we come into a sticky financial situation, such as COVID-19, we need to have the ability to make a payment on those bonds in the event that we don't collect enough money to make that payment. So this is what we call bond surplus. There is that excess, the amount that we overcharge students, that builds up in an account. And every year, that account grows by about $700,000. The point of that account is, number one, to be able to use to cover bonds if we aren't able to make those payments, but we can also use that for emergency funding situations if we ever don't have enough revenue to cover our student services fee, or we can use it for super cool projects across campus. For example, Cat's Cupboard. 2 years ago, we were able to make an agreement with them that we will give them $80,000 a year from that account to help out with their operational expenses, to help them get off the ground and help develop their infrastructure, which is super cool. And I would love to do a lot more of those things around campus. But unfortunately, you'll see in more of this presentation, we aren't quite in a situation where we're able to do that right now. But that is the important note, that bond surplus exists and it is used for those type of special allocations. Next slide. This clause, you don't have to read all of this. I'm going to quickly explain what this means. Basically, any budget that we set, so all of those funding amounts that you saw on that entity slide, so for example, that Lafine receives about $5 million from us. That $5 million is contingent upon us collecting enough money from students that we set. So what that means, our $14.4 million fund, if we do not collect $14.4 million that we've promised to entities, we have the ability to essentially ask them to return money to us because we don't have the ability to actually pay that to them. It's a useful tool that we are able to use to change budgets when we have declining enrollment or not enough money collected from the fee. So this is something that we have had to do for the past couple of years, and it really sucks. We promise entities a certain amount of money, and we just are unable to deliver it, which means the amount that we are charging students, that $465, students are not getting $465 worth of services out of, which really sucks. And that's something that we are really trying to address, and you will see that in the legislation that we have later tonight. Next slide, Bryce. So that piece of legislation that Evan sent out with the agenda last night, the background on that, yesterday, myself, Parker, and Evan met with university administration, and this was about the rate of the student services fee next year. And at that meeting, the three of us and administration all decided mutually that we were going to go forward to the Kansas Board of Regents with a 3% increase to the student services fee rate for the coming year. So that is going to increase that $465.48 by $13.97, which is what students would then pay next year. The justification behind that is as follows. Number one, our enrollment is not looking great. This is a chart from 2017 to 2021 on our total enrollment at K-State. As you can see, that does not look great. We've been going down in students significantly. President Linton touched on that earlier today. We are down about 3,500 students from 2017. And all those students, or at least almost all those students, are students who contribute to the student services fee and help support our student services across campus. But unfortunately, that number's been declining, and so we don't have as much support for those students. Hit the next slide. One big reason because of this that we continue to see declining enrollment is due to our class sizes. So the senior class right now that was here a couple of years before COVID is our biggest class. I want to point out really quick that not every single student fits into this category. There are people on 5-year programs, we have graduate students, but this is generally kind of what this looks like. So your senior class is our biggest one. My class, the junior class, is going to be our second biggest class. And then you have a couple of classes that are pretty similar size in our sophomore and freshman from COVID. So even though we are seeing each year that there's a small dip from our sophomore to freshman class, we are losing every year those bigger classes. And this is why enrollment declines are a 4-year problem instead of a 1-year problem. Even a small change from one class to another class still can result in a larger enrollment drop because we are graduating bigger classes than we are taking in. So for example, next year, we're expecting a class similar, a freshman class similar to that freshman class in size, but we are losing way more students than we are taking in. So that is why you continue to see enrollment declines year after year. Once we get past the junior class, we should see a relative new normal level of enrollment that we hope to grow from there. But that's why you continue to see that declining enrollment. Next slide, Bryce. So what does that mean for the student services fee? This is a graph that specifically talks about the total budget of the student services fee in orange versus the total revenue that we collect in gray. As you can see, from 2016 to 17, we were about equal, which is really good. That's a great business practice to have, spend as much as you earn. But in 2018, we started to budget a little bit more that we could spend. This was something that needed to be corrected, but unfortunately in 2020 to 2021, COVID hit. And this really, really, really hurt our collections of the student services fee. The distance, between those two dots is a little over $4 million that we came short. So we promised entities about $16 million that we were going to give them to help support their student services. We collected only $12 million, and that was not great. In 2022, being this year, we saw a little bit of a rebound. A lot of that was thanks to administration reworking who gets charged the student services fee. When COVID hit, if you were taking any online classes, you did not pay the student services fee for that specific class. And I don't know about you all, but I was only in like one in-person class that very first year that COVID happened. And so I would only pay a fourth of the student services fee. And that really hurt our collections. This year, you can still take online classes. You pay the full fee, but you are not charged online fees in order to take that. So it's a really nice balance and allows students more flexibility. You can take programs completely online and not be charged the student services fee. So just changing up that collection helped us a lot. But this year we had a little bit over a $2 million deficit. Next slide, Bryce. So what does all of that mean? I've said that a lot. So number one, we need to prepare our budget for fiscal year 2024 when enrollment starts to hit a new normal. And how we've done this is eliminating those large deficits over the past 2 fiscal years. Like I mentioned, $4 million in fiscal year 2021, meaning the 2020 to 2021 school year, and in the 2021 to 2022 school year, in FY22, that would be a $2 million deficit. The Student Services Fee Committee has been really hard at work reducing our budget so we can meet what we're collecting in again. In FY21, we decreased the budget by $305,000. This past year, we decreased it by $1.36 million, which was really tough and came with a lot of really hard decisions for our entities. And this year, our committee's goal is to decrease the budget by at least $400,000 so that we can help get that back in line. Next slide. Just to provide some context, the way that we got that $400,000 goal, we have $2 million or almost $2.5 million under review this year for the student services fee. Looking at those entities, we review a certain amount every year, and when you add up the dollar amount of what we're reviewing this year, it's about that much. In order to reach that goal, we have to cut each entity on average by about 16%. And that is going to be really difficult, but something that we need to do as a committee in order to get our budget back on track. For reference, before COVID, back when our lines were a lot closer together, every entity that would come in, we would ask them to provide scenarios for if they got the same level of funding, being a continuance, or if their funding were to increase or decrease by 3%. Unfortunately, those are not things that we can ask for at this time, just because we really need to get our budget back on track. So that's some context on what the committee is going to be doing this year and some of the really tough decisions that we will have to be making. Next slide. So looking at the legislation for that 3% fee increase, I want to provide you some of those charts again, looking at our budget versus our revenue on a graphical format. If we were to not increase our fee, up to 2022 is actual data. 2023 and 2024 are all estimates, and they assume that the committee makes the cuts that they need to. So we are doing our job, and these are essentially what the results would be with the enrollment projections that we are expecting in the next year. So in 2023, we would see a little bit over, like somewhere between $1 and $1.5 million in another budget shortfall. This means that insufficient funds process, where we have to do mid-year callbacks of student services entities, is very likely to happen. That is a pretty large deficit, and one that our bond surplus account would take a very large hit. To if we were to cover the entire thing through that. That would not be sustainable for the future, where we would have more budget deficits. So that is a big reason why we need to increase our student services fee so we can help come up with that extra revenue. So remember where these two graphs are at right now and the distance between them. Bryce, if you hit the next slide, that is what our graph will look like in the event, or estimated, that we go through with this fee increase. So in 2023, we are a lot more manageable in our budget deficit. That's somewhere in the neighborhood of $800,000 to $900,000, which certainly still is not great, but is a pretty good point to be at. And I feel comfortable with the amount of reserve that we have being able to cover all of that through that process, meaning we likely would not have to do mid-year callbacks of student services fee entities, and they would be able to be fully supported next year as we are almost completely transitioned out of the COVID pandemic, which I feel like is essential. In 2024, assuming that we come forward with another 2% increase, which is something that we talked about with administration, our number gets really, really close to that total revenue and budget being aligned, which is where we really want to be. We need to be fiscally responsible with our money, and that's not what we're doing right now. So this scenario allows us to get close to that and still assumes that we make one more round of bigger cuts, and then we come full circle with our fee changes. So the final note that I will make, all of these enrollment estimates are based on certain data. I can't give the specifics on this data, but we are expecting, we're preparing for, call it the worst, but we're expecting a little bit better than that. So in the event that that happens, these lines actually may completely touch. We may be completely in line. This is assuming essentially worst case scenario, that we are still going to have a little bit of a deficit, but I'm confident that that actually will not be the case. But that's what I'm going to present to you all today. I don't want to get any further out ahead of myself than that. So that is our situation, which is why you will see legislation at the end of the agenda tonight asking for Student Senate's approval on increasing the student services fee by 3%. No matter what happens in the room tonight, that will go to the Board of Regents. However, we would like student support fully behind it, and we feel that it is in the best interest of all students for this increase to happen. So that was a ton of information, and a lot of it was really confusing. Please, if you have any questions at all about the student services fee or anything that I talked about today, please feel free to let me know.
Awesome. Are there any questions for Chair Phillips? Caucus Leader Bellamy.
Yes, so this 3% increase will be $13.97 more than it is right now. I believe it's $379.44 would be the new total. It's written down on my computer, but yeah, and that's for full-time students. If you are, say, 479 what? Okay, gotcha, yeah. So well, so that'll be the total fee if you're a full-time student, meaning you're taking 12 or more credit hours. Say, for example, you're in 6 credit hours, you're just a half-time student, you will only pay half of the fee. Or if you're in 3 credit hours, you'll pay a fourth of the fee. That's how it works up until 12 credit hours. You won't be charged any more if you're taking more than 12 credit hours. So good question, Drew.
there any further questions for Chair Phillips? Awesome. Seeing none, you can take your seat.
Feel free to come talk to me during Senate if you have any other questions.
And with that, are there any further committee chairs who would like to give a report tonight? Okay, seeing none, are there any directors who would like to give a report? Director Binkley. Bryce, will you go into my inbox and then click that link in that email? Thank you.
Oh, okay. Hi, guys. I'm the Health and Wellbeing Director, so a part of Cabinet this term. I just wanted to talk to you all because I went to the Wellbeing Collaborative meeting. That's basically a group of people from all over K-State that are super focused on our well-being. It's led by Kathleen Hatch. A big, really cool thing that they're trying to accomplish is a watch party for this symposium program. Could you scroll down a little bit? Thank you. So that's on May 12th, and it'll start at 10 a.m. our time. And this is kind of a worldwide thing. So as you can see, there's presenters from all different countries. So if you're at all interested in health and well-being on campuses, health and well-being in general, if you're pre-med, it'd kind of be some interesting information, anything like that, definitely come talk to me about coming to the watch party. So they're hoping to do that again on May 12th. It would start around 8 a.m. and it will probably be in the Union. They're still trying to work out some details on that. And then if you want to look at this website, it's healthpromotingcampuses.org/program. Again, if you have any questions, come ask me, but that's all I got.
Awesome, thank you. Are there any questions for Director Binkley? All right, seeing none, you can take your seat. Are there any further directors who would like to give a report tonight? President Volgamore.
Okay, just real quick before we end our term, I wanted to give a quick update from the executive branch. So first off, big thank you from Director Witt for the SAPA table yesterday that she coordinated. I know a lot of you stopped by. I think that was great. Good event all around. Gonna try to knock through these pretty quick. So, okay, I guess really only one other thing I want to hit on is we've been working with Derek Jackson and some others with the rec and at athletics on the Lot 9 task force. And I know Hunter's been up here and talked a little bit about this in the past, but essentially just to recap on that, the Lot 9 is also referred to as the grass lot. So typically student parking, student tailgate, that situation. With the expanding athletic facilities into the east side parking lot, that won't be available anymore. So we have made some progress on that initiative, and there will be, I can confidently say there will be designated student parking in a significant amount, at least 150 to 200 spaces of designated student parking just for students. So that's awesome. That's a great thing that athletics and housing and dining, the rec, and everyone's working with us to partner on. So really excited to bring that forward. I don't really have much details to share on that, but we just went and checked out the location today, and I think it's going to be great. I think it's better than what we even had in the past. So that's all good. We're going to try and get an announcement out with maps and information before we all leave for the term. But otherwise, just a lot of general stuff with the cabinet we're wrapping up and well, wrapping up for the semester, but it's really kicking things off for the term. So if you've got any questions, I don't want to take too much of our time here. I know there's a full agenda, so happy to chat after.
Awesome, thanks Parker. Are there any questions for President Volgamore? Senator Grills, is that a question?
Yeah, I was going to ask, you said we are getting maybe 150 to 200. Do you know how many we currently have?
250. Well, currently we don't actually have any. That is designated student parking. So note that first of all. This will be designated student parking sold and available to students. The grass lot had about 250 parking spots that was used primarily by students, but that was open to the public, to my knowledge. So yeah, some of the parking will be asphalt. Some of it will be grass. All of it will be in a centralized location, which was really the number one concern, the thing that a lot of students wanted. was to be in a centralized location. It's not really much further at all from the stadium. It's a little bit further, but I think just it's gonna be nice. It's gonna be good. That's really about all I've got with that. But any other questions?
Are there any further questions?
Sorry, that was kind of quick and broad, but happy
All right.
to talk about anything else later too. So.
Yeah, seeing none, Parker, you can take your seat. And with that, are there any further directors who would like to give a report tonight? Alrighty, seeing none, we will go ahead and move straight into final action on Bill 5. Bill 5 was referred favorably from the Senate Executive Committee, 8-0 to 0. If the author would please come forward. Were any changes made?
No changes made.
Awesome. You can take it away with debate.
All right, first piece of legislation for the night for me. So, like I mentioned last week, this is a really simple change to our tuition and fee strategy bylaws, tuition and fee strategies committee bylaws. Every year, this committee assembles and meets, but unfortunately, in the event that we have college fee proposals put forward, there is not a lot of direction in the bylaws that specifically mentions what we do with that, what the chairs do even, or how those committees are made up. So what this legislation does is simply just puts it in the bylaws. The only changes to our current process are reducing the number of student senators who are required to serve on these committees from all of the student senators to half. That just works a lot better with everyone's schedules and allows some flexibility for all of you. And then the only other thing is changing the name from the College Tuition Committee to the College Fee Committee. And seeing that the committees deal with fees and not tuition, I think it makes a lot more sense to be more straightforward with that name. So I would strongly encourage a yes vote so that we can know what we're doing a lot better in the future.
Awesome. Thanks for that debate, Blake. Seeing as that was a speech in the positive, we are now seeking speeches in the negative. Seeing none, are there any further speeches in the positive? And is there any further debate at all? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and take it into a roll call vote with one.
Anderson.
Yes.
Bannister.
Yes, by proxy.
Barron.
Yes.
Bellamy.
Yes.
Broughton.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Carey.
Yes.
Compton.
Yes.
Coy.
Yes.
Davidson.
Yes.
DePaz. Dole.
Yes.
Grills. Gromas.
Yes.
Heatherman. Hoffman.
Yep.
Johnson.
Yes.
Collery Kill.
Yes.
Kamen.
Yes.
Kidd.
Yes.
Kermer. Lister.
Yes.
Long. Lin. Oh, my apologies. McFarland. Is that a yes?
Oh, sorry, yes.
McPhee.
Yes.
Middaugh.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes, by proxy.
Navarro.
Yes.
O'Donohue.
Yes.
Oury.
Yes.
Pelton. Phillips.
Yes.
Pilchard.
Yes.
Pondillo.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Roth.
Yes, by proxy.
Saya.
Yes.
Salmon.
Yes, by proxy.
Shear Alexa.
Yes.
Shear Carson. Schindler.
Yes.
Schweier.
Yes.
Stout.
Yes.
Strout.
Yes.
Talbert.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Volgamore. And Wolf.
Yes.
And Senator Long?
No, you don't.
On Bill 5. You don't go back. Okay. Okay, well, that bill passes 45 to 0 to 0.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. And with that, we will go ahead and move into final action on Bill 6, if the author will please come forward. And Bryce, will you go to my inbox? There's an updated copy of the bill in my inbox.
Thank you.
Were there any correct or were any changes made?
Yes, actually. So, as opposed to the legislation that I put on the floor last week, this piece of legislation includes our rules for how we want to handle proposals for new ideas for reports and documentation. We discussed this and went through like the motions in committee on Monday and really like the process. So that's included in this legislation. Essentially, if you have an idea for something that you'd like us to document, you have to submit it to the chair, me, 48 hours before our meeting so that I can put it on our agenda 24 hours before the meeting. And also, as soon as we as a committee approve that proposal, then it gets sent to the Senate floor. It just makes it more clear about how our process works. Everything else is exactly the same.
Awesome. You can take it away with your debate.
Thank you so much, Evan. This piece of legislation is super straightforward. I can't imagine that it would be controversial or an issue at all. It just makes sure that why we as a committee operate the way that we do and how the mechanics function is more defined. So I would encourage you to pass it.
Awesome. Thanks for that debate, Nick. Seeing as that was, sorry, I dragged my microphone across the desk. Seeing as that was debate in the positive, are there any speeches in the negative? And are there any further speeches in the positive? And is there any more debate at all? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and go into a roll call vote.
Anderson.
Yes.
Bannister.
Yes, by proxy.
Barron.
Yes.
Bellamy.
Yes.
Broughton.
Yeah.
Brown.
Yes.
Carey.
Yes.
Compton.
Yes.
Coy.
Yes.
Davidson.
Yes.
DePaz.
Yes, by proxy.
Dole.
Yes.
Grills.
Yes.
Gromis.
Yes.
Heatherman. Hoffman.
Yep.
Johnson.
Yes.
Calorikiel.
Yes.
Kamen.
Yes.
Kidd.
Yes.
Kermer.
Yes.
Lister.
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
McFarland.
Yes.
McPhee.
Yes.
Middaugh.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes, by proxy.
Navarro.
Yes.
O'Donohue.
Yes.
Oury.
Yes.
Pelton.
Yes.
Phillips.
Yes.
Pilchard.
Yes.
Pondello.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Roth.
Yes, by proxy.
Saya.
Yes.
Solomon. Shear Alexa.
Yes.
Shear Carson.
Yes, by proxy.
Schindler.
Yes.
Schweier.
Yes.
Stout.
Yes.
Strout.
Yes.
Talbert. Thomas.
Yes.
And Vogelmore.
Yes.
And Wolf.
Yes.
That bill passes 45 to 0 to 0.
Awesome. Thanks, Juan. So we'll go ahead and move into final action on Bill 7. If the author will please come forward. Were any changes made?
No changes were made.
Awesome. Take it away.
Alrighty, so I won't take up too much of your time with this one. So what this piece of legislation does, as you can see on this legislation, my name is listed as both an author and a sponsor. I personally just think that looks kind of silly. The point of being a sponsor is to show that you support the legislation, and I feel like that does it, or that your authorship on the legislation sufficiently does that. So I just think it looks kind of silly and makes our legislation look better if we were to make this change. So I don't see any reason why we shouldn't vote for this tonight, but I also know that these are the type of things that Senate likes to get up in a tizzy about and spend hours debating on, and I would encourage you not to do that tonight because we have a lot of other really important legislation to get to. So vote yes for simplicity.
Thanks for that speech, Blake. Seeing as that was a speech in the positive, we are now seeking speeches in the negative. And are there any further speeches in the positive? And is there any further debate at all? All right, seeing none, we'll take away with a roll call vote.
Anderson.
Yes.
Bannister.
Yes, by proxy.
Barron.
Yes.
Bellamy.
Yes.
Broughton. Brown.
Yes.
Carey.
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Coy,
Yes.
Davidson,
Yes.
DePaz,
Yes by proxy.
Dole,
Yes.
Grills,
Yes.
Gromis,
Yes.
Heatherman, Hoffman,
Pass.
Johnson,
Yes.
Kalarikiel,
Yes.
Kamen,
Yes.
Kidd,
Yes.
Kermer,
Yes.
Lister,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
McFarland,
Yes.
McPhee,
Yes.
Middaugh,
Yes.
Murphy,
Yes by proxy.
Navarro,
Yes.
O'Donohue,
Yes.
Oury,
Yes.
Pelton,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Pilchard,
Yes.
Pandillo,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Roth,
Yes by proxy.
Saya,
Yes.
Salmon, Sheer Alexa,
Yes.
Sheer Carson,
Yes by proxy.
Schindler,
Yes.
Schweier,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Stroud,
Yes.
Talbert, Thomas,
Yes.
Volgamore,
Yes.
and Wolf.
Yes.
Going back to the pass. What's up? Okay. Hoffman.
Sure.
That bill passes 45 to 0 to 0.
Awesome. We're flying through business tonight. With that, we will go ahead and move into debate on Bill 8, or final action on Bill 8, if the author will please come forward.
Yeah, I forgot.
All right, I think I'm halfway done.
Were any changes made?
No changes were made.
Okay, you can take it away.
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier in the night, last year we had a $2 million budget deficit. The way that the Student Services Fee Committee handled that was we ended up taking about $1 million back from the entities that we allocated money to, and then the other $1 million we found from reserves and also are using that bond surplus account, that emergency reserve account to cover. So this piece of legislation just officially gives the budget office the go-ahead to pull that money from bond surplus so that we can officially not be in debt. So I would really strongly consider voting yes on that.
Awesome. Thanks for that speech, Blake. Seeing as that was debate in the positive, we are now seeking speeches in the negative. Are there any further speeches in the positive? And is there any further debate at all? All right, seeing none, we'll take it away with a roll call vote.
Anderson,
Yeah.
Bannister,
Yes by proxy.
Barron,
Yes.
Bellamy,
Yes.
Broughton,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Carey,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Coy,
Yes.
Davidson,
Yes.
DePaz,
Yes by proxy.
Dole,
Yes.
Grills,
Yes.
Gromis,
Yes.
Heatherman, Hoffman,
Yep.
Johnson,
Yes.
Kalarikiel,
Yes.
Kamen,
Yes.
Kidd,
Yes.
Kermer,
Yes.
Lister,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
McFarland,
Yes.
McPhee,
Yes.
Middaugh,
No.
Murphy, Navarro,
Yes.
O'Donohue,
Yes.
Oury,
Yes.
Pelton,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Pilchard,
Yes.
Pandillo,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Roth, Roth,
My proxy.
Saya,
Yes.
Solomon,
Yes by proxy.
Sheer Alexa,
Yes.
Sheer Carson,
Yes by proxy.
Schindler,
Yes.
Schweier,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Stroud,
Yes.
Talbert,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Volgamore,
Yes.
and Wolf.
Yes.
And that bill also passes 45 to 1 to 0, excuse me. Awesome, thanks. So we will go ahead and move into final action on Resolution 14. I'm the author, so I will come forward. Alrighty, no changes were made. So basically, all this resolution does is asks Dr. Lane and his business manager over in the Office of Student Life to equally distribute the EOF and SCTE dollars between their respective accounts. Like I mentioned last week, that's about $900,000 every year that comes to Student Senate through student tuition dollar collection, and we allocate that to the Educational Opportunity Fund, which is for historically underrepresented groups on campus, and the Student Center Tuition Enhancements, which is for innovative new startup projects on campus. And historically, we have allocated more money than we had to EOF and less money than we had to SCTE. So logically, it kind of makes sense to just distribute it evenly between those two accounts, so we aren't drawing on the drawing on the EOF reserves too much and putting too much back into the SCTE reserves. Thanks. Vote yes. Thanks for that debate, Evan. Seeing as that was debate in the positive, we are now seeking debate in the negative. Is there any further debate in the positive? And are there any further speeches at all? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and take it away with a hand vote. So if you are in favor of passing Resolution 14, go ahead and raise your placard now. Proxies, raise 2. Awesome, and noes, same sign. Great, so that resolution will stand approved. Thanks, everybody. So seeing as we have exhausted our final action agenda for the night, we are going to go ahead and move into introduction of legislation. So is there a motion to consider Bill 9? Caucus Leader Bellamy.
Move to consider Bill 9. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to consider Bill 9. If the author will please come forward.
Okay. Bill 222309, authors Bryce Atchison and Bentley Talbert, sponsors Juan Pineda Gomez, Evan Porter, Marta Richenberg, and Parker Volgamore. Whereas in 2017, a campus climate survey was issued to students on Kansas State University's KSU campus, which focused on determining food insecurity rates on KSU's Manhattan campus. Whereas after the conclusion of this survey, which was distributed to every student via the KSU student listserv, it was determined that 44.3% of undergraduate students on campus experienced some form of food insecurity. Whereas the survey also found that 91.6% of food insecure population on campus had not used food assistance services during the 2016-2017 academic year. Whereas a campus climate survey on food insecurity has not been conducted since 2017, and the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic has increased economic hardship and limited access to campus resources. Whereas a land-grant institution, KSU, strives to ensure the health and well-being of students, establish a standard of health defined by the Wildcat Wellness Coalition's 8 dimensions of wellness, and promotes that all students need a well-balanced diet. Being enacted, Section 1, Kansas State University Governing Association, KSU SGA, shall establish an ad hoc committee investigating the current state of food insecurity on KSU's Manhattan campus after the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, and shall provide KSU with updated statistics on food insecurity rates and possible strategies for reducing those rates on campus. Section 2, the chairperson of this committee shall be appointed by the Speaker of the Student Senate. Section 3, the chairperson of this committee shall appoint a vice chairperson, basic needs director, and health and well-being director from the student body's presidential cabinet. 3 members of the Student Senate, 2 at-large members from the student body, and a member of Faculty Senate. Section 4, the committee shall meet bi-weekly and compile findings, results, and recommendations that are to be reported to the Student Senate, Faculty Senate, and University President. Section 5, the committee shall report these findings on food insecurity when it is determined that a possible solution and/or new statistics have been found and proven accurate. Section 6, this bill shall take effect upon passage of Student Senate and signed signature of the student body president.
Awesome, thanks, Bentley. Are there any questions or corrections for the author? Chair Phillips.
Yeah, what inspired this committee?
I think it was a multitude of things. I know Bryce knows a lot more than I do because he's just been in the issue for longer. But I know for me, it was actually through a presidential campaign that I learned about this and started doing research and was like blown away that like so many of our like friends could literally be in like food insecure we wouldn't know. Because I mean, I think this is 1 out of 2, well, close to 1 out of 2, basically, the statistic for undergraduate students. That's just crazy to me. And I think that there's a lot that we could do, and especially since we are the biggest, voice for students, we should be doing something. So, yeah.
Awesome. Are there any further questions? Chair Long.
How long do you anticipate this committee existing, or ad hoc committee existing?
I mean, I don't know exactly, but I would forever long until like, I know like one of the main goals that I think is pretty clear, like with the legislation, is we want to push for them to do a climate survey since there hasn't been one since 2017. And I think most people agree that it's probably only gotten worse because of all the different things that has happened since 2017. So I'm not sure exactly how long, but
Granted.
Follow. How long did the last climate survey take to conduct?
I am not sure.
Go ahead, Dr. Lane.
Hi. So I just want to make sure that the author is aware that we are expecting updated data from the National Collegiate Health Association that does ask about food insecurity that was recently completed this spring. So you will have that data here shortly.
Thanks for that information, Dr. Lane. Are there any further questions for the author? All right, seeing none, you may take your seat. And with that, is there a motion to consider Bill 10? Caucus Leader Bellamy.
I want to move to Special Order Bill 9 into final action.
All right, it's been moved to Special Order Bill 9 into final action. And before I ask for a second, for those of you that don't know, basically what a special order means is that we introduce it and vote on it in the same session. We're doing that because this is the last Senate session of the term. So these pieces of business that are in introduction this week wouldn't be able to take effect until after our first Senate in the fall, when we would traditionally debate and vote on them in the 2-week cycle. So that being said, is there a second on the motion?
Seconded.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to Special Order Bill 9. Hold on. Blake, do you know the?
It is debatable, 2/3 majority.
Thank you. So Caucus Leader Bellamy, as the maker of the motion, you have first rights to debate.
Yeah, hi guys. Food insecurity is obviously a very pressing issue, and we'd like to get to this before the summer is over, or before the summer starts, as this is the last Senate of the term. And so I think that special ordering this would be prudent. Please vote yes.
Thanks for that debate in the positive, Drew. Are there any speeches in the negative? Are there any further speeches in the positive? And is there any further debate at all? All right, seeing none, we will take a hand vote on the motion. So all of those in favor of special ordering Bill 9, raise your placards now. Proxies, please raise 2. Noes, same sign, please. Awesome, so we will go ahead and move forward with the special order for Bill 9, which means that we will move straight into debate. So will the author please come forward?
I'm back.
And no changes were made, so you can go ahead and take it away with your debate, Bentley.
Okie dokie. I mean, I kind of told everyone how I stand on this issue. I think it's a very non-contentious issue. I think everyone agrees that food insecurity on our campus is something that we have been working on and should continue to work on, and I just think it's now SGA's time to start thinking about ways that we can contribute to ending it. Please vote yes.
Awesome, thanks for that debate in the positive, Bentley. Are there any speeches in the negative? Are there any further speeches in the positive? And are there any further speeches at all? All right, seeing none, we'll move into a roll call vote on Bill 9. Take it away, Juan.
Anderson.
Yes.
Bannister.
Yes by proxy.
Barron. Yes. Bellamy.
Yes.
Broughton.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Carey.
Yes.
Compton.
Yes.
Coy.
Yes.
Davidson.
Yes.
DePaz.
Yes, by proxy.
Dole.
Yes.
Grills.
Yes.
Gromis.
Yes.
Heatherman. Hoffman.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Clarikiel.
Yes.
Kamen.
Yes.
Kidd.
Yes.
Kermer.
Yes.
Lister. Long.
Yes.
McFarland.
Yes.
McPhee.
Yes.
Middaugh.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes, by proxy.
Navarro.
Yes.
O'Donohue.
Yes.
Oury.
Yes.
Pelton.
Yes.
Phillips.
Yes.
Pilchard.
Yes.
Pondillo.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Roth.
Yes, by proxy.
Saya.
Yes.
Salmon.
Yes, by proxy.
Shear Alexa.
Yes.
Shear Carson.
By proxy.
Schindler.
Yes.
Schweier.
Yes.
Stout.
Yes.
Strout.
Yes.
Talbert.
Yep.
Thomas.
Yes.
Volgamore. And Wolf.
Yes.
That bill passes 46-2020.
Awesome, thanks everybody. So just to address that a little bit, I'll throw this on the at-large committee member application in the fall, but if you're interested in serving on the ad hoc committee as a student senator, please reach out to me. But that being said, and now that we're through that special order, is there a motion to consider Bill 10 in introduction? Senator Pilchard?
I move to consider Bill 10. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to consider Bill 10. If the author will please come forward. Chair Phillips?
I move to allow the author to summarize.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to allow the author to summarize. Are there any objections? Awesome. Seeing none, Jacob, you can summarize.
Awesome. So this is all right. So generally there's the allocations process of you got to apply 35 days, you go to the committee, and there are specific things you can do those for. There's a separate category of allocations called a special allocation. So that is, in this case, allocating group money for them to be able to go to a national tournament. So this is for rodeo, and so they are sending 2 of their members to the national finals rodeo, collegiate national finals rodeo in Casper, Wyoming, in various events. And so they came to us and presented last week to go to their national tournament. The committee they requested $4,070. The committee is recommending $3,750. That difference was food costs, and then the disbursement process is gonna be a little bit different with this one. So we are allocating $3,750, but $600 of that is contingent on one of them making it to the finals. Rodeo people clarify, make sure I'm doing this right. The long go is the finals, yes?
Yep.
Excellent. Yeah, so if one of the 2 of them makes the long go, then they get $600 additional for the hotel rooms for those last 2 days, because they don't qualify to the long go, they're not going to be using the hotel room costs either way. And then, yeah, we'll be motioning to special order this as well, because they won't get the money. So, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jacob. Are there any questions or corrections for the author? All right. Seeing none, Jacob, you can take your seat. And with that, we will go ahead and move into introduction of Resolution 18. If there is a motion to consider, Chair Long.
Motion to special order Bill 10.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to special order Bill 10. Jacob, as the maker of the motion, you have first rights to debate.
Yeah, so like I said, if we do not pass this tonight, they won't be able to get that money. Because, like I said, we explained how bills that remain in introduction legislation, what happens to them at the end of this semester.
We just carry them over into
Gotcha.
the next
So,
semester.
I mean, all right, yeah, they won't get it till next semester. And so we want them to have that money for the competition this summer.
Awesome. Thanks for that positive debate, Jacob. Are there any speeches in the negative? And are there any further speeches in the positive? And are there any further speeches at all? All right, seeing none. Same thing like we did last time. If you're in favor of special ordering Bill 10, please raise your placards now. Proxies raised too. Awesome, noes, same sign. And that motion does pass. So we'll go ahead and move straight into debate on Bill 10. Jacob, you want to come back up here? And obviously no changes were made, so take it away.
up and down tonight. Yeah. So rodeo, they have competed well. They have qualified for this. This is gonna be a great trip to them, and we should give them the money.
Thanks for that positive debate, Jacob. Are there any speeches in the negative? And are there any further speeches in the positive? And is there any further debate at all? Awesome. Seeing none, Juan, you want to take it away with a roll call vote?
Anderson.
Yes.
Bannister.
Yes, by proxy.
Barron.
Yes.
Bellamy.
Yes.
Broughton.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Carey. Compton.
Yes.
Coy.
Yes.
Davidson.
Yes.
DePaz.
Yes, by proxy.
Dole.
Yes.
Grills.
Yes.
Gromis.
Yes.
Heatherman. Hoffman.
Yep.
Johnson.
Yes.
Clarikial.
Yes.
Kamen.
Yes.
Kidd.
Yes.
Kermer.
Yes.
Lister.
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
McFarland.
Yes.
McPhee.
Yes.
Middle.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes, by proxy.
Navarro.
Yes.
O'Donohue.
Yes.
Oury.
Yes.
Pelton.
Yes.
Phillips.
Yes.
Pilchard.
Yes.
Pondillo.
Yeah.
Rogers.
Yes.
Roth.
Yes, by proxy.
Saya.
Yes.
Solomon. Shear Alexa.
Yes.
Shear Carson.
Yes, by proxy.
Schindler.
Yes.
Schweier.
Yes.
Stout.
Yes.
Strout.
Yes.
Talbert.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Volgamore.
Yes.
And Wolf.
Yes.
And that bill passes 46 to 0 to 0.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. So seeing as we are still in introduction, is there a motion to consider Resolution 18? Chair Phillips.
I move to consider Resolution 18.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded to consider Resolution 18. If the author will please come forward.
All right, Resolution 2223-18, KSU SGA support of menstrual equity funding proposal, authored by myself, Parker Volgamore, and Marta Richenberg. Sponsors Jessica Binkley, Ross Latta, and Peyton Lin. Whereas the President's Commission on the Status of Women, referred to as PCSW, is partnering with the Division of Faculties to submit a proposal for the All-In for K-State funding opportunity. Whereas the mission for this funding proposal is to provide free of charge menstrual products in all women's, gender neutral, and family restrooms across the Kansas State University community. Whereas menstrual products are a basic necessity that a large amount of students use in their daily lives, whereas the lack of access to menstrual products can hinder the success and well-being of students on all Kansas State University campuses. Whereas PCSW has deliberately and intentionally sought student input and support through the Student Governing Association throughout the drafting and submission process for this proposal. And whereas Kansas State University Governing Association has previously supported, through the provision of SCTE startup funding, the placement of menstrual products in Kansas State University's restrooms, and should continue to support this proposal. So be it resolved that Section 1, the Kansas State University Student Governing Association fully supports this menstrual equity initiative and funding proposal. Section 2, upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the Student Body President, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to the President's Commission on the Status of Women.
Awesome. Thanks, Parker. And before I seek questions or corrections, this is kind of awkward. Peyton is no longer a senator, which means that there is no one carrying this on the floor, so I went ahead and threw my name on as a sponsor. If anyone else wants to sponsor, feel free to, but we can bring it to the floor now. I realized that right as Parker started speaking. Anyway, are there any questions or corrections for the author? Senator Kidd.
I think I asked this to you before regarding other legislation, but do we know the number of bathrooms that would be positively impacted by this? Like the actual number of bathrooms across campus?
Yes, Director Latta.
Yes, 810 bathrooms approximately.
810 bathrooms.
Yeah, on the campus, this campus, and away to campus.
Yeah, so that's the other important thing. It's across all three campuses. So just for clarification, if those of you that were in student government last year probably saw something about this initiative coming through in our SCTE funding that went towards this. So this isn't any allocation of funding from student government. This is just us supporting this group that is submitting their funding proposal to All In for K-State, which is a KSU foundation, basically fundraising opportunity. So our SCTE proposal last year that was passed was about $4,500, and that was just to initiate and start, at least try and help start this. That's obviously not a significant amount of money, but it shows skin in the game. It shows it's something we do care about. A lot of the student government interest in this initiative came from seeing other Big 12 institutions at the conference last year and just other institutions across, and some of these probably should be whereas clauses, but this is not an uncommon thing for similar institutions or other Big 12 schools to have. This is something that a lot of other schools do. So yeah, that's why we're supporting it. And I know some people had asked, like, so what is the All In for K-State funding? 2 years ago, I think, and maybe Dr. Lin can help on some of this, but I know some money was fundraised through that for Cats Covered, and that was like almost $600,000.
That was $300,000.
$300,000, a little off, but significant amount of money. So fundraised through the foundation again, really any initiatives like that. So I don't know if we know for sure what other people are requesting this funding, but this is the only group that has intentionally sought out the support of students through the Student Governing Association, and it being aligned with our initiatives. That's why. So I'm debating now. I apologize. So.
Awesome. Thanks for that clarification, Parker.
Yeah.
Senator Kidd.
So aside from the All In for K-State campaign to get more funds, have any other potential sources other than SCTE been identified for this group to pursue?
Ross, do you know of any?
Restate your question, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so aside from SCTE and aside from All In for K-State, what other sources of funding exist to help this initiative?
There's like not a lot out there, and that's why that they're seeking out the All In for K-State. I know there's a lot of other groups that have tried to achieve this on campus, but nothing's really been successfully funded because there's a lack of funding for this area. So that's why they're going to approach All In for K-State. Thank you.
Awesome. Are there any further questions for the author? Senator Kidd.
Sorry, another question. So more data. Do we know the total number of people that could be impacted? So we have the number of bathrooms, cool, but now the number of people, so like faculty, staff, students.
That is a fantastic question. I don't know if we have the exact number for that.
Just curious.
Great question. Yes.
Granted.
Follow up. So did we look at anything from other schools of what they're doing with like patterns of use and that related to cost projections for continued supplying and everything?
Yeah. Russ, you want to talk a little bit about, he's done a lot in terms of talking with other groups even that are interested in helping K-State with this initiative.
Right. So they are this group is going to seek out some like dispensary items to be placed in all these bathrooms that will be restocked by people that are already partnered with this group. I think it's really important. They just, like Parker said, it's already been done on a lot of other campuses, so we're just getting started. But the large issue is that a lot of the groups have it in just a few bathrooms, where this would be all across the campus, and it'd be consistent. And like all those groups can't refill those bathrooms constantly, which this would have the support to be fulfilled constantly, so there would not be anyone trying to use these products, and there's not any available for them to use.
Awesome. Are there any further questions for the author? All right, seeing none, you can take your seat. And with that, we will go ahead and move into Chair Phillips.
I move to Special Order Resolution 18. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to Special Order Resolution 18. Blake, you have first rights to debate.
Yield.
Does anyone want to claim Blake's first rights to debate?
Sure.
Go ahead, Parker.
Yeah. Just real quickly, without actually debating about the bill, the funding proposal's due tomorrow, and this is our last in Senate. And like Jacob talked about, this is really the only opportunity to approve this resolution of support. So.
Awesome. Thanks for that debate, Parker. Seeing as that was a speech in the positive, we are now seeking speeches in the negative. Senator Kidd.
Question of privilege. So timeline again for this. When will the Board of Regents see this? When will we be able to talk more to them about this? And when will we know officially if it was approved or denied, that request?
So are you talking about the funding proposal from the President's Commission on the Status of Women?
Never mind, sorry. Nothing, no, I'm not.
Yep.
Sorry, thank you.
Awesome. So again, seeking debate in the negative. And any debate in the positive? And any further debate at all? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of special ordering Resolution 18, please raise your placards now. Proxies raised 2. No, same sign. Awesome, so we will be special ordering Resolution 18, which means Parker, if you want to come on back up. And no changes were made, so you can take it away with your debate.
Yeah, I kind of got a lot of my debate out of the way already, but this being something we've pursued for a long time, the idea behind SET funding is to provide that startup initial skin in the game, support showing this is something that we want to do. We've done that. Now this is our opportunity to take it to the next step, to really provide support for this proposal to have significantly more funding and continue on into the foreseeable future. So yeah, I think that's all I have.
Awesome, thanks for that debate, Parker. Seeing as that was a speech in the positive, we are now seeking speeches in the negative. And any further speeches in the positive? And any further debate at all? Awesome. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move into a hand vote. So all those in favor of approving Resolution 18, raise your placards now. Proxies raised 2. And no's, same sign. Awesome. So Resolution 18 will stand approved. Thanks, everybody. And one more thing. I know it's not up there at the top of the agenda. Fun fact, I didn't know this at all last semester. Those first 3 pages of the agenda, that's called the proper. So I forgot to put it on the proper when I amended the agenda, but that being said, is there a motion to consider Resolution 19? Chair Long.
I move to consider Resolution 19. Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded to consider Resolution 19. If the author will please come forward.
Alrighty, 2 quick, super simple changes to make before I start. I forgot the word increase on the title, so it should be recommendation for a 3% increase to the student services fee rate. And then on line 63, that student services fee committee vote should be 9 to 0 to 0. I've gotten a couple more votes in since submitting this, and which is unanimous for the committee. So go team. Anyway, Resolution 22-23-19, recommendation for a 3% increase to the student services fee rate. Authors Blake Phillips, sponsors Jeff Ebeck, Max Harmon, Juan Pineda-Gomez, Evan Porter, Marta Richenberg, Nick Saya, Kate Thomas, and Parker Vogelmore. Whereas Kansas State University Student Governing Association is charged with allocating the student services fee. Whereas the student services fee currently has a budget of about $14.4 million that goes to various student services entities across campus. Whereas due to multiple years of enrollment decline and the COVID-19 pandemic, there have been insufficient collections of the student services fee revenue compared to the student services fee budget, resulting in substantial budget deficits. Whereas in fiscal year 2021, the student services fee faced a budget deficit of about $4 million. Whereas the 2020 to 2021 Student Services Fee Committee decreased the overall student services fee budget by about $305,000. Whereas after fiscal year 2021, Kansas State University changed how the student services fee was assessed due to an increase in online classes. Whereas in FY 2022, the student services fee faced a budget deficit of about $2 million. Whereas the 2021-2022 Student Services Fee Committee decreased the overall student services fee budget by about $1.36 million. Whereas based on current enrollment projections, if the student services fee were to remain at a $465.48 rate, a significant budget deficit requiring mid-year budget callbacks through KSU SGA's insufficient funds process is very likely. Whereas on Wednesday, April 27, 2022, the Student Services Fee Committee Chair, Student Body President, and Speaker of the Student Senate met with University Administration to discuss the current state of the Student Services Fee budget. Whereas the Student Services Fee Committee Chair, Student Body President, Speaker of the Student Senate, and University Administration mutually agreed to present to the Kansas Board of Regents a 3% student services fee rate increase, bringing the rate of the student services fee to $479.44. Whereas based on current enrollment projections, a 3% increase to the student services fee rate will likely result in about $392,000 in additional revenue, which makes the possibility of mid-year budget callbacks through KSU SGA's insufficient funds process very unlikely. Whereas in order to become budget neutral, the student services fee will need reductions in the overall budget as well as increases in the rate of the fee. Whereas increasing the rate of the student services fee not only helps the student services fee become budget neutral, but allows the student services fee committee to begin reinvesting resources into student services on campus. Whereas KSU SGA is committed to enhancing the student experience at Kansas State University for all students, whereas a 3% student services fee rate increase substantially increases the benefit that students will receive from their student services fee, and whereas the Student Services Fee Committee voted 9-0 to recommend that Student Senate pass this resolution. Be it resolved that Section 1, the Kansas State University Student Governing Association Student Senate officially recommends that Kansas State University propose a 3% increase of the student services fee rate to the Kansas Board of Regents. Section 2, upon passage by the Student Senate, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to Student Services Fee Committee Advisor Jen Owensby, Division of Financial Services Assistant Vice President Fran Wilbrandt, Chief Financial Officer and Interim Vice President and Chief Operating Officer Ethan Erickson, Vice President for Student Life and Dean of Students Dr. Thomas Lane, and University President Richard Linton. Dr. Richard H. Linton.
Awesome. Thanks, Blake. Are there any questions or corrections for the author? Caucus Leader Compton.
I move to Special Order Resolution 19.
It's been moved to Special Order Resolution 19. Was that a second, Chair Long?
Yep.
Awesome. It's been moved and seconded to Special Order Resolution 19. Caucus Leader Compton, you have first rights to debate.
Yeah, I'll take it. This process is very time sensitive. As you can tell, we met with administration yesterday and felt the need to put it on the agenda today, which doesn't normally happen. The timeline on this is as follows. So on Wednesday of next week, our essentially recommendation is due to Ethan Erickson, the Chief Financial Officer here at K-State, to prepare and put forward in the university's tuition and fee proposal to the Kansas Board of Regents. That will be presented to the Board of Regents during their May meeting. The Kansas Board of Regents meets every month, and they do a similar process to us where during that first month, they will just do a reading of the proposal, and then the following month in June, they will actually vote on that proposal. Assuming that they vote yes on assuming that they approve what we present, those changes will be in place in July at the start of the new fiscal year and will be in place for when students come to campus in the fall of August. So that is kind of how that process works. The Board of Regents ultimately gets to decide what the fee rate will be based on our proposal and our justification. So yes, please vote on this now so we can get that to them before August.
Awesome. Thanks for that debate, Blake. Seeing as that was debate in the positive, we are now seeking speeches in the negative. Any further speeches in the positive? And any further speeches at all? All right, seeing none, we'll move into a hand vote on the motion to special order. So all those in favor, please raise your placards. Proxies raised too. Thank you, Blake, for being seated. And no same sign. Yeah, fun fact, you have to be seated to cast a vote, in case you didn't know that. Anyway, so that motion did carry, so we'll go ahead and move straight into debate on Resolution 19, and there were no changes, so Blake, take it away.
Yeah, so folks, this is really important, which is why I spent all that time doing this presentation today. As you saw, our budget situation is not looking great, especially if we were to not have an increase to the fee. Ultimately, in 2024, like I mentioned, we increase our bond surplus amount by $700,000 every year. If we don't increase the fee, our budget deficit is going to be over $700,000 every single year, meaning that that reserve account will eventually become insolvent, and we will have absolutely no way to prevent against budget shortfalls. We will be required to just take money back from entities every year. And the goal is to fully fund our entities every year. By passing this legislation, you are suggesting to the Board of Regents that they put the fee at that level so we will not have to do mid-year callbacks on entities. This is something that we've done 3 different times in the past 2 years. Every single time has been very hard. There are a lot of difficult decisions that come with that, such as job layoffs, salaries that are a part of this, and critical operating procedures that ultimately are not able to be funded. And a vote yes on this increases the likelihood that those things will not happen in the future. It's really important that we fully fund our entities, especially with COVID, at least the impacts of COVID, more so in the rear view mirror with students on campus, organizations traveling, the mic's being weird. So the most support that we can provide to our entities, the better, and the best way to do that is by passing this legislation. If you have any questions before we vote, please feel free to reach out and please vote yes.
Awesome. Thanks for that debate, Blake. Seeing as that was debate in the positive, are there any speeches in the negative? And any further speeches in the positive? And any further debate at all? Awesome. Seeing none, we'll move into a hand vote. Chair Thomas?
I move for a roll call vote.
Second.
Awesome. It's been moved and seconded for a roll call vote. So all this requires is the consent of 15 senators. So if you're in favor of taking a roll call vote, please raise your placard now. Proxies you can raise too. Awesome. That motion carries. So we'll go ahead and move into a roll call vote on Resolution 19.
Anderson.
Yes.
One second. Bannister.
Yes, by proxy.
Barron.
Yes.
Bellamy.
Yes.
Broughton.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Carey.
Yes.
Compton.
Yes.
Coy.
Yes.
Davidson.
Yes.
DePaz.
Yes, by proxy.
Dole.
Yes.
Grills.
Yes.
Gromis.
Yes.
Heatherman. Hoffman.
Oh, yeah.
Johnson.
Yes.
Calarikiel.
Yeah.
Kamen.
Yes.
Kidd.
Yes.
Kermer.
Yes.
Lister.
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
McFarland.
Yes.
McPhee.
Yes.
Middaugh.
No.
Murphy.
Yes, by proxy.
Navarro.
Yes.
O'Donohue.
Yes.
Oury.
Yes.
Pelton.
Yes.
Phillips.
Yes.
Pilchard.
Yes.
Pondillo.
Of course.
Rogers.
Yes.
Roth.
Yes, by proxy.
Saya.
Yes.
Solomon. Shear Alexa.
Yes.
Shear Carson.
Yes, by proxy.
Schindler.
Yes.
Schweier.
Yes.
Stout.
Yes.
Strout.
Yes.
Talbert.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Volgamore.
Yes.
And Wolf.
Yes.
And Resolution 19 passes 45 to 1 to 0.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. I know that was a lot of parla again, but we're through our legislative agenda, so I'm now seeking any second open period speakers. Awesome. Seeing none, I would refer some legislation, but you special ordered all of it, so there's nothing to refer. So, actually, Senate shoutouts. My bad.
Okay, it's your favorite time of night. Shout out to Andrew for pronouncing everyone's name wrong. We love you. Shout out to Parker Volgamore for looking so gosh darn sexy. Shout out to Rodeo for not giving up on SGA. Shout out to Agro. Shout out to Kyle. Shout out to Tate. Good luck with finals. The 2022 intern kids. I think that's a shout out. Senate is sexy. Way to go, Peyton. You are going to be a great intern coordinator. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. So Juan will go ahead and take it away with a roll call vote. Nope. Roll call. Woo.
What are we voting on?
Okay, last one of the night. Anderson.
Here.
Barron.
Here.
Bellamy.
Here.
Broughton.
Here.
Brown.
Here.
Carey. Compton.
Here.
Coy.
Here.
Davidson.
Here.
Dole.
Here.
Grills.
Here.
Gromis.
Here.
Heatherman. Hoffman.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Calarikiel.
Here.
Kamen.
Here.
Kidd.
Here.
Kermer.
Here.
Lister. She here.
Yes.
Long.
Here.
Lin.
Here.
Oh, I need to take you off that one too. McFarland.
Here.
McPhee.
Here.
Middaugh.
Here.
Navarro.
Here.
O'Donohue.
Here.
Oury.
Here.
Pelton.
Here.
Phillips.
Here.
Pilchard.
Here.
Pondillo.
Here.
Rogers.
Here.
Saya.
Here.
Shear Alexa.
Yeah, here.
Schindler.
Here.
Schweier.
Here.
Stout.
Here.
Strout.
Here.
Talbert.
Here.
Thomas.
Here.
Wilgamore.
Here.
And Wolf. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. And with that, is there a motion to adjourn? Blake, why'd you make that face?
I was trying to figure out the date.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Marcus?
I know we adjourn until the beginning of next semester.
Our next scheduled meeting?
Of our next scheduled meeting, same time, same place.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. Are there any objections? Awesome. Seeing none, we will stand adjourned at 9:09 p.m.
I was also on podcast 10. I sat there thinking it over. I'm going to be already
Chair Saya to the principal's office. Chair Saya to the principal's office.
Because like I'm gonna.
Either you guys need to.
So,
I can always call you.
how would you like me to walk?
There's always someone.
You said half an hour after.
Yeah, that's what I did. So like I'll be you. What else do I want to say?
You be a here?
Yeah.
Or I would.
I want to. Yeah.
You get it?
Yes, sir. Look all right? Looks great. All right, there we go.
It's just like
Hey, Bryce.
I said like whenever she says yes, one.
You want to be a deer?
No, you do this first.
No.
Okay, cool. It's just on the like the Hispanic groups that you said. Could you give me that info?
Dude, you have the money.
Oh, like could you? I don't know what their like info is. That's a very good idea. Awesome. Okay.
I'll try and like.
It's no rush, but. Yeah. No, definitely. No, for sure. Yeah. I'll get you an email. It's like no rush, obviously. Now that the legislation. No, it's not.
My predecessor, yes. The older than you, right? Yeah. Oh, what?
What's his name? Mr. Congo. Yes. I always switch him. He said that he was out there.
Wait, I would love a picture. Well, hopefully be good enough to put on Instagram because it's been too long. And I've been having
I'm trying to shut down my other wrong word. Does that mean like sad?
You're thinking like different camera, it'll be silly. Ready? I know what
Yeah, it's not the right word.
I'm making one of these pictures here, your profile picture in my phone. Alright, like one of these ones where you're just. I look like a Boston Terrier. You were feeling like you have a lack.
I am very low.
You would be
Michael is my initiative.
That's what I'm saying. I gotta finish my assignment before I go. Looks like a
I'll die.
That one will be better. I want to frame that thing so I can. Well, let's see.
I don't know what. No.
You can still put it in. Oh,